This is Electric Café, and today we are here with Mark Reader.
Hello, how do you do, Max?
And cool, thank you for coming.
Thank you, very welcome.
I'm
Thank
really excited.
Thank you for having me.
Yo, let's go, and we're talking later.
Wir waren so glücklich, du und ich. Du hattest Liebe nur für mich. Und plötzlich gingen mir die Augen auf. Willst du mich betrügen? Hast es immer schon getan. Willst du mich betrügen? Hast es immer schon getan. Liebe und Furcht. Wut, Liebe und Furcht. Wut, Liebe und Furcht.
I need to say I'm really happy to be with you today. So, it's incredible. Mark come from a long story. He was here in Berlin from the 1978 when the fever of the punk was, and the Berlin was already, how we can say, the promised land.
Yes, it was a very different place, Berlin,
Yeah,
back
I can
then.
imagine.
Yeah, and I came here and fell into. I mean, I came to buy some records. Yeah, I came to buy some records. Actually, I just thought I'd see what Berlin was like. I'd heard so much about it. Everyone in West Germany told me don't go there. Nobody in England went here,
Yes.
really. And Bowie had come here and I kind of was impressed by that, and I was like, oh, there must be something about Berlin, So I come here and I discovered this place that was unlike anywhere else I'd been before. And I'd not really been anywhere, to be honest. I'd only been kind of travelling around Western Europe, France, Belgium, Holland, whatever.
Yeah.
West Germany. But when I came to Berlin, it was like a revelation.
Yes.
It was like another place. And it wasn't just because of what was happening in West Berlin, because there's actually nothing actually happening in West Berlin so much.
Yeah.
It was the fact that it was a dual city. It was at East Berlin and West Berlin, and I discovered East Berlin, and it was like I have to stay here a few more days and discover more and more and more, and it just kind of went from one thing to the next. Now, I played in bands in Manchester when I was living in Manchester. And punk bands, yeah?
Yes.
So I'd grown up in that sort of punk, in kind of hippie era, King Crimson and everything, and I came into the punk stuff, and I thought punk had kind of like sort of sold its soul when Plastic Bertrand released Sample and Pour Moi, and I was like, I'm going to go travel around, get some old records in Germany, And this record that we're just hearing here is a Malaria record. Yeah, that was the first remix that I ever made. Right.
Oh right.
Now, I met Gudrun Gutt in the Zenzo record shop in Schöneberg, and she introduced me to quite a few people in the scene, and I was invited by my friends who had a band called Joy Division.
Wow.
They asked me if I'd help promote their records in Berlin, and I was hoping that I would, get some. Get them gigs and stuff like that, and
wonderful.
And because of Gudrun, she was in a band called Mania D, and then they changed their name to Malaria, and made an album, and I became their manager, and all this stuff, and we made this record, this Malaria record, and she asked me if I would remix that track. It was called Jealousy, and then I was in a band myself. I formed a band myself.
Amazing.
We called ourselves the Unbekannten.
The Unbekannten.
Yeah, which means the unknown.
Yeah, I know.
And it was just because someone asked me, can you do a gig next week? We're having a party, a festival, and we need a band, So I asked my friend Alistair, who's the singer of this record, can you sing, Alistair? And he's like, Strangers in the Night. Like, brilliant, we've got a gig next Wednesday. And so we wrote 3 songs. One of the songs we actually wrote in the bar opposite the SO36, called Franken.
Okay.
We were still writing the lyrics for the song, before we got on stage. And anyway, we played this gig and we thought it was a disaster and we're never going to do another gig ever again. And this girl comes running up to us and she's we knew her, just vaguely, but she came up, she goes, that was amazing, I want to make a record with you.
Yeah.
And so I made some records with her, and this record here is called Don't Tell Me Stories.
Yes.
And it was the first record to feature a Roland 606.
All right.
Because a friend of mine who was in the Human League,
Okay, yeah.
he had been given a prototype Roland 606
Oh, wow.
to test to see if it was any
Sick.
good, right? But he had no time and he couldn't be bothered, and he was like, can you test it for me? So we got this drum machine, we programmed this pattern on this on the drum machine, and we ran to this recording studio about a few days later and recorded this record.
Can you imagine, guys? So we're talking about Mark Reeder. We can say it's kind of bridge between the UK band in Berlin, Germany. It was under Joy Division, and it was in the punk group. It was he was in touch with Human League. So I think we're talking about a real something come from the past, the real movement. What's happened real in Berlin, it was kind of explosion, and I think really amazing period where you was able to make music, to promote. This is kind of real scene.
It was a different kind of scene, because like in the UK we made music mainly to escape, whereas Berlin, everyone had already escaped here.
Yeah.
This was the place where you could escape
Amazing.
to, and so there was no kind of real drive to be successful or anything.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
about making music to express yourself and
Exactly.
show your inner feelings and your art, and there was none of this commerciality kind of thing, although there were commercial bands here, like
Right.
Boney M and Nina
Yeah,
and
sure.
stuff, right?
Disco.
But the scene that I kind of fell into, if you like, was about expressing yourself.
Yeah.
And although I got dragged into that and kind of like was part of it, we made quite poppy records in a sense compared to
Yeah.
the like Einstürzen and Neubauten or something,
Completely.
or Malaria,
Sure.
and with this record, our Elizabeth, she was called, she was ran this record label called Monogram Records,
Yeah.
that released a lot of these early Neubauten and stuff,
Yeah.
P1E and things like
Yeah.
this, right? She thought this was a great record, it would be great in the disco.
Yeah.
So she took this record to the Big Apple discotheque in Schöneberg, Wilmersdorf, and she's like, she gives it to the DJ and asks him to play it. The dance floor's heaving with people dancing to Kool and the Gang, and the DJ puts this record on, and immediately she jumps on the dance floor screaming, yes! And everybody on the dance floor disappeared and left her on the dance floor on her own. And me and Alistair are standing looking at her and hiding in the shadows with shame. It was like, oh my God, It's not a dance record. It's a kind of clubby kind of record, but it's not a dance record.
No, amazing. We will back in a few minutes.
sun goes down in a holy war, it's all forgive and forget. Sing a song with us for a better.
So yes, this is a song you're doing right here in East, right?
Yeah, I was invited by the East German record label Amiga, the state-owned record label Amiga, to produce an album in East Berlin.
Oh right.
And you know, as the 80s had kind of progressed and we'd started to touch on things like acid house and stuff like this, drum machines and shit. In the East, they were still kind of still a bit traditional. They didn't have drum machines and stuff like this.
Of course.
They had one drum machine.
Yeah.
And so I was asked to produce this record in East Berlin by this band called Die Vision, which means the vision.
Yeah, the vision.
And this was the like this band that they'd supported the Totenhosen.
Oh, yo.
Yeah?
Oh, yo.
In an illegal concert in East Berlin.
Oh, wow.
And the state-owned record label was thinking, well, we can either ban this band or we can sign them. And so they signed them.
All right.
And they got a record deal with Amiga, and I was asked to produce this record.
Yeah.
And as I'm making this record in East Berlin, East Germany is starting to fall apart.
Amazing,
right?
guys.
The communist government starting to shake, and I could see this every day, and I'm thinking, oh God, what's going to happen next? You didn't know. We didn't know. No one really suspected the Berlin Wall would come down. But
wow.
We knew there were going to
Can
be
you
political
imagine?
changes.
Wow.
You knew that, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm making this record.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of falling apart. And this record's really about that,
Yeah.
It's got this song's called After the Sunset.
Amazing.
Right?
This is the revolution, guys. This is the first step that we call revolution.
Now the sun will rise again for us. The war is over and done. Sing a song with us for a better world. Sing cha la 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 la. Kick him.
Right till it's all.
Yeah.
I had to smuggle the drum machine into East Berlin,
Right.
because we didn't have one. So
can you imagine? We're talking about something that we was in the middle of where these two parts was divided from a wall. Can you imagine, guys, how much it's difficult for Mark to go on the other side? That's what we're talking about. That's really a crazy period, and I think you guys was experienced really wow.
Yeah, it was very interesting experience.
Yeah.
To be able to go from, this music in the East, and afterwards, after a recording session, go to West Berlin to listen to disco music in the Metropole. Techno, early techno music, acid house and stuff in West Berlin. And that was like the thing that kind of drove me really. I mean, I've been a fan of electronic music from being a really small child, and it was like I wanted more.
Yes.
And then the wall came down, and I had this opportunity.
Yes.
Suddenly to start a label.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
that was the
MFS.
Yes.
I called it MFS, which is actually the three letters are from the Stasi, Ministerium für Staatssicherheit.
Yeah.
But I chose these three letters because I wanted people to remember that.
Okay.
They remember the tyranny, know? And I would terrorize them with other things like this music. Yeah.
And this was the wall falling down we're talking about 89. So it was in the 90s you started with the MFS. Right?
December 1990.
1990.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing, guys. And you produce a lot of artists on your label, right?
Yeah, I've released quite a lot of records.
Yeah.
All different people. I mean, some people you've heard of, like Mike Van Dyke.
Okay, yeah.
Paul Van Dyke.
Yeah, I remember him.
I released some records by Dr. Motter. This is a group, Effective Force.
Okay.
They also released on Dimitri's label, A System 01.
Yeah.
And Johnny Klimek, who's part of this band, he's now a Hollywood film music producer.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I released records that I liked.
Yes.
Obviously you kind of like think about selling records as well. But I wanted to encourage the people to, coax their talent out of them. And I think everyone's got talent hidden inside, and you don't know until you try.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give them the opportunity to try. And I started my record label as a label for East Germany, or Eastern Europeans, really.
Yeah.
Because I knew that in the West no one would give a shit about these kids from the East.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'll give a shit about these kids from the East, and I'll let them come to me. And I released records by people from Czech Republic, I released people from Hungary, as well as East Germany. Paul Van Dyke was from East Germany.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show them that you can do it too. I wanted to motivate them so they didn't feel inferior and didn't feel like second-class musicians.
We can say something like, before you bring the music to the East, and after you create the music in the East, you bring to the world also in the Ovest. So in the West.
Yeah. The techno scene.
Yeah.
as such. This is more of a breaky break kind of
Yeah.
track, really. But it was like,
Yeah.
you know, the techno scene as it evolved
Yeah.
was very important because it had no really difficult to understand lyrics.
Yeah, sure.
It was all about the music and the feeling and
Yeah.
the being together and the you know, everyone was taking ecstasy and it was like the happiness drugs, you know, and
Yeah.
it was like everyone felt the same, you know,
Yeah.
they were all together in the same feeling.
Yes.
And I wanted to capture that emotion in the music and trip people out, you know, and trance
Yeah.
them out. Actually,
That was the right spirit of that moment, and it's crazy because Mark is coming from the punk. We're talking before about 1978, and now we jump all the things because he's crossed from the punk to the new wave and it's coming to the early we can say prototype techno because it was early before. We're talking about 89, you know, guys, 90s, 90. So it's really amazing also your journey through the music. So how you shape from the punk and everything. I think also what we're talking before of, it was like how is we can say the ideology between the punk and the techno. So because we're talking about punk is a really kind of expression where you start the hide, do it for yourself, to give the freedom, and the techno took this attitude, you know, and it was really amazing. That also what you're talking about and how you stay inside of the things because you are a musician, you are a producer, but you're also kind of talent scout. So you just catch to the people, you understand which is his talent, and you just drop out. That's really wonderful.
Well, I wanted to give people the opportunity, you know,
Yes.
like and I would expect people to just come to me and play me their music and see what I thought of it, you know, and they still do, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not about condemning them and saying it's rubbish or anything like that, or it's not good, I can't release it. It's about encouraging them to do better and go further and stuff like this. And yeah, today I might not want to release your record because I don't think it's good enough or whatever, it doesn't kick me.
That's beautiful.
But the next one might be the better one, you know,
Yeah.
and the next one and the next one. And it's just, you just don't give up, you know.
Yeah.
And this is a Hungarian artist
Yeah.
that I released on MFS.
Yeah.
Corvin Dalek. It comes
Okay.
from Budapest.
Yeah.
And towards the end of the 90s, you know, like I started MFS and then went through all this kind of Paul van Dyk, trippy trance music
Yes,
and stuff.
I remember.
You know, which started to become more and more commercialized, and I started to I want to get a bit of distance from that. And Corvin, being Hungarian, had this Eastern European sexuality, this flair that I wanted to promote. And
it looks like kind of new Beatles inside,
this was just a track that he made with Alex Flatner.
Yeah.
And you know, and this is my edit of that
All right.
track.
Okay.
I made a radio edit because the track's really long, you know, and I thought, okay, I'll make a small short edit.
Also
So-
because you used to do a lot of remix, right?
Well, I make more records now than I did before because when
Okay.
I was doing MFS, I was more concerned about doing the actual, you know, releasing the actual records, and that was a
Yeah.
full-time job, you know, it was like
Okay.
every single day. You know?
Yeah.
You're concentrating on other things, marketing and all that,
Yes.
and I do everything myself, so it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
like I had a big marketing team or
I
anything.
know,
like that,
right.
You know.
Like you told me before, also when you were talking about the factory records, so many people thinking about it was a huge things, but I think, you know,
Yeah.
underground is
It
just,
was
you know,
like factory was a house in Charlton, you know, in Manchester, and it was like everyone when they talk about Joy Division and stuff, they think it's like some kind of like huge record label or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
And the same thing, you know, like when I'm doing OFS, I had some workers, you know, some guys who helped me as well, work with me as well. You know, they did the bookings and the promotion and stuff with me, but we were a small team of people. We weren't more than sort of 5 people, you know. And the idea was to just, you know, encourage people, give people the opportunity. You know, that was the most important thing. Yeah.
Yes, I think what you're talking about is really true. I mean, also because as a talent scout, as a producer, as a manager, as an artist, I think what we need to do is just inspire the others. We need not to feel like I'm a better of you or something like ego. Guys, what is important is like Mark showed to us each other. It's like sharing, it's caring, and give passion. This is the most beautiful things. Have the concept, not the marketing. The concept, and do the things with the herbs.
We had a concept for this idea of this music with Corvin. We called it Wet and Hard.
Okay.
Right? Because it was kind of more sexual,
Yes,
and we wanted to give people an opportunity to kind of go away from the kind of traditional kind of like techno-y kind of ideas or trance idea or whatever, and kind of like find somewhere else. And at the time, people kind of condemned us for doing this music. You know, we played everywhere around the world, China, in South America, Colombia, places like this. But in Germany, people were kind of hostile towards us because they thought it was too overtly sexual, you know.
Yes.
Where I believe that now, in this particular moment in time, we have come full circle. Because I think right now, with people not being able to go clubbing anymore,
yes,
they are desperate to go out, to meet people, to dance with people, to celebrate together.
Yes.
And I think that the idea that what we did back in 99, beginning 2000, was something like which will happen in the future. Is that people want to celebrate their sexuality. All these young people who've never been to a club,
right?
You know,
right? Yes.
They'll want to know what it's like to dance with people together and to be in a club together. So I think that Wet and Hard is a very interesting concept for the future, as much as it was for in the past.
And it is. What is this right now?
This is a track that I did with Blank and Jones, actually.
Oh, right.
I took one of their tracks, their trancey tracks, and I made it into this. And this is Bobo from Bobo in White Wooden Houses. She's actually she used to sing on Rammstein records.
Okay.
And I just decided I wanted to make something which was a bit kind of more, kind of a bit aggressive as well. Yeah. Not so techno, because they'd already done a kind of trance version. They didn't want to. I did quite a few things for them, and we decided to make an album together.
Okay.
I took all their tracks with vocals and made my versions.
Right. Yeah. Amazing.
It's called Reordered.
Amazing. A little bit of water because there is no more.
It's so hot in here.
Yes.
It's so hot in here.
There is the fire, but we're talking about the many things. You know what? Mark is here in Berlin from the 1978. You can imagine what this man see through his eyes. Wow, man.
I came here when I was 20.
Can you imagine? In the 78.
Yeah. But the thing is I feel that, Berlin it's changed obviously in a lot of ways, but the same kind of people that came to Berlin in the 80s, and late 70s and 80s, are the similar kind of people today, even that come to Berlin, because they find it's a city of discovery, Berlin. You know, and the discovery is not about finding the latest club or the latest party, whatever. Yeah. It's about discovering yourself.
Wow,
that's the key, right? It's about discovering yourself, and gives you the opportunity to do that. You know, Berlin. Yeah.
I think this is the spirit. This is the freedom, and the freedom of be yourself. How you are, comes as you are, is working in Berlin. That's amazing. From the 78, still this. It changed a lot. It changed
optically a lot of things, of course. Yeah, but
nice.
But the people,
nice point of view.
The same.
Nice point of view.
You know,
yes.
And I actually quite like the fact that it's constantly evolving as well. You know, I mean, right? You know, we have to deal with different things today. You know, that we didn't see before, especially like the rising rents and stuff like this. But that's normal. That's like, you know, you want to go and live in London, or you want to go and live in Tokyo, or you want to go and live in New York. You still deal with the same kind of stuff. You know, so it's not any different, and that's just unfortunately the way it is.
Yeah.
In the past, when they had a wall around it, it was very cheap. Something different. You
completely.
Know,
completely.
Yeah, but we don't have that luxury anymore.
What we listen now?
This is Depeche Mode.
Oh, right.
Now, I worked together with a friend of mine who's one time onto my practicant, if you like, at MFS. His name is Michel Adam. And Misha and I, we make all our tracks together.
Okay.
Yeah? He's like, we work in the studio together. And this was a track that I did for Depeche Mode.
You know, you do a track for Depeche Mode too.
Yeah, it's a remix called Sweetest Perfection. And the original idea was it's supposed to appear on a Depeche Mode remixes album.
Oh, right.
But my father had an accident and he broke his hip, and I had to go to England and stuff, and we missed the deadline. Yeah. And so I asked Depeche Mode, is it okay if I release it on my record?
All right.
So I made an album called 5.1, which is a surround sound album.
Okay.
And I put this song on my album.
All right.
So it's only on my album, actually.
Great. So, Depeche Mode remixed by Mark Reeder. Right now I ask to Mark something I'm really curious, but I think almost are curious about. You know, Berlin in that period was really, you know, like I think Depeche Mode coming here for record the music. I think you saw maybe David Bowie around. All the people, all the artists was here.
I miss David Bowie.
Yeah.
He left about 3 months before I got him.
Oh, yeah.
But I went to his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a crazy moment where now I wanna cry, you know, because we're talking about many things. Anyway, I think from here you do a lot of, edit and remix for this kind of music between the punk and the new wave, and you do it your influence, your way, you know, you change something because you already put your vision, also that bring you maybe after in the decision to do the MFS, you know, something like that. You start to mix in kind of different kind of music, and but the cool things, that's also I read, and that's I listen. You love when you remix. I read that to leave the earth of the track, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You don't want to change so much. you know?
I don't see the point of having a track that's just some track that I had on my laptop,
Yeah.
that I don't know what to do with it, and I just take the vocals and stick it on. I don't.
Yeah.
That's not for me. Remixing, I take as many of the elements of the original song as I can,
Yeah.
and envisage it. How would I like to hear it?
Right.
I heard this song and it was like, how would I like to hear it? I'd like to hear it sound like this.
Yes.
So I make it to sound like the way I wanted. If I wanted to, I like the original too, of course.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I want people to instantly recognise their song as much as hearing that it's a different version.
Right.
You know?
Also, because remixes must be something all different. I think because remixes was start when you just use band for give maybe a version for the dance floor. We can say something like that, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And it was really there, the heart of the producer, the artist, the remix, to bring the different version, but also took the soul of the track. Also because I think when you I remix a lot of techno, but techno is completely different,
Yes, of course.
because you have no words. You can just decide what you want to put out and remix, give the power.
Yeah.
But I think on that song, it's a song, and you need to also to follow the flow of the song.
Yeah.
And yes.
And it's not easy doing a song.
No.
Right. It's not
No.
easy remixing songs
Exactly.
that will, people will be able to respond to it, because it's so easy to do something like just
Right.
take a beat and just put it underneath it.
And another song.
It's very, very different to actually producing imagining a remix,
Exactly.
reimagining a song. So it's like this is a song
Yes.
that I did with Misha on. We recorded this for Anne Clark,
Okay.
who did Sleeper in Metropolis.
All right.
And she did this track on an album she made, and I asked her if it was possible to remix it because I really liked the song, and I thought it would be interesting to feature her
Yeah.
in a different way to a different audience,
Yeah.
and I just liked the idea that she had made a song about the kind of our environment,
Okay. Yeah.
So
got you,
I wanted to kind of give it a different feeling.
Yeah.
Imagine if. What would happen?
What would happen if running on empty?
Seemingly forever.
The car crawls to the unclean fuel station, still out of sight, joining the motionless caterpillar of cars. Traffic snaking, tailing back for miles.
Imagine if the afternoon turned to evening, and as you approach the entrance,
Fists fly as the green plastic can is wrestled over and subsequently spilled across the grey tarmac, mixing blood and petrol.
imagine.
What if the price became so high? It was only available to those who could afford it. Those who the government decided.
Amazing voice, amazing version. Really love it. What you done?
Imagine it is rationed by the liter.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I'm curious now, like.
How it's going to go.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of like draw people a little bit
Yeah.
into another place,
Yes. Yes.
Imagine.
I think a lot of people, they're into hip hop and they're into other kinds of music, and this kind of electro beats or whatever. It's a bit slower, and I wanted to kind of like entice them a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
here's something that they might understand.
Yeah.
It's not too hard or
Yes.
fast
Yes.
yet.
Yes. Exactly. Also because nowadays we experience people that just drive the music so faster, and that's what's the period was.
Yeah, I like it hard
You
and
know?
fast though.
Yes.
You know, as well. Yeah.
It's moving. Yeah.
Anne's been suffering from illness, so this is,
Yeah.
you know, something to say. Hang in there, girl.
Yo. Now amazing. There's also here you feel a lot of many contamination already. Anyway, this is Electric Café and we are here with Mark Rida. This was what is 19? What's the
This was we made into like 2011 or 12 or something.
Oh, okay. So it was really okay.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
old school, new school.
Yeah,
old
yeah,
school.
yeah. It's amazing.
It's rock disco.
Yes. I was just thinking about. You feel a lot. I mean, it's of course, you know, and you come really from the scene that's create this kind of sound, and it's so amazing, you know. I don't know if you guys realize what we're talking about. You know, you love Depeche Mode, you love Joy Division, you love punk, you love everything. This is Mark Reader, and I'm happy to be here and talking about you today. It's so amazing.
It's difficult to talk about 40 years of your life in
You know, you can
50
imagine.
minutes.
Now, can you imagine? That's it. What I was thinking right now, I think if you guys tell me, maybe make some comment. I want to invite more time, Mark, because with Mark we need to talk ages, just ages. Today we're just talking about a piece of his life, a piece of our life, because what it is show today, it's just the evolution of the music from the punk to right now. But I think we need to just have maybe other 15, 17 minutes. I don't know if we can really, can say, really landing, you know, with this journey. But soon we will come back, I'm sure. But now we have still 17 minutes that we want to use right in the right way. Anyway, yes, amazing. And after, for example, more of 40 years and everything that you was here, what you thinking about? What you think for the future? What we can say to these guys?
Oh well, I never give up hope at all. You know, this is the first time in my life that I've never been able to go out to a club.
Yeah,
Since going to a concert at 14, you know, after then I kind of went out all the time, and for the first time in my life I'm not able to go out, you know, and it's incredible when you think that we are this part of our lives has been taken away from us, but it's only through our own stupidity that it's happened. So we have to bear with it for the moment.
Yeah.
It will get better. It will eventually. You know, we'll have to, take different measures maybe, but it will happen. Eventually. I'm quite sure of that, and I can't wait for that after party.
And I believe because Mark is a kind of alliance. If it say this, we need to say yes, because you can see through the future from roof.
Yeah, I mean, this is a band from China.
Okay. Oh yes.
Stolen.
Because after all things, Mark go in China and also discover some amazing shit over there.
Yeah, this band Stolen, and they're having parties right now like normal. You know,
All
they've
right.
got playing gigs and going
Yes,
to clubs
yes,
and stuff like
Arjun
this.
is just-
Because they
yeah.
knew how to, you know, not what to do, if you
Yes.
like. You know, they had a pandemic. They, you know, it came from there. So,
Yeah.
but they managed to kind of like say, okay, we have to deal with this,
Yes.
and they dealt with it
Yes.
responsibly.
Yeah.
And now they're having parties like
Yeah.
normal, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, Stolen. They played on last weekend. They played at a festival. They were the headliner of a festival. Yeah.
Can you imagine,
Yeah.
guys? We need.
They went
to,
from being like a little
Yeah.
band from China to being the, you know,
Yeah, that's
Headline.
that's the point also, because it's kind of no sync between all the world, you know, about these things, about the virus and everything, about the antidote vaccine. I was calling, you know, everything. We need to just to run, do things, but I you say responsibility, and we need to drop out of these things. And but like we can say, there is a maybe if we do different attitude, if we don't kill anymore the planet, if we don't use and consume too much the things, but just love few things and just put love, maybe we can get out.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
we have to be responsible,
Yes,
you know,
completely.
and not about. It's not about me. It's
Right.
about us.
Listen to this.
you
No,
know.
me is a kind of ego.
It's
Kill the
about
ego.
us. It's about us,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So all the things that we like doing, that we were able to do here in this city,
Yeah.
you know, are being denied us because it's all, people are only thinking about themselves, and it's not shouldn't
Yeah.
be just about that. You know, nature's way is telling us there's something wrong,
Yes, yes.
and we have to change it. We have to
listen,
change it.
listen.
Yeah.
Mark is a kind of our big father. Listen to this, because it's really interesting. You know, a person that's managed many things. He was in the middle of everything, and he touched everything that you love. He says something like this. I think it's really important to thinking about and to evolve.
Yeah,
to say.
we have music, and you have things like Hor here, you know, making these evenings and stuff, and keeping the flame going, you know, keeping
Yes.
the flame alive.
Right,
That is essential, you know.
right.
You know, you see it in this environment, but in reality, you know, you're dreaming about having seeing that in a club,
Yes,
right? So we have to work to get to that point,
yes.
and it will only work if we put the work in, because
Yes.
it won't come to us on a silver plate
No.
as an app and a download. We have to do it ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we don't build the future doesn't come.
Yeah.
You know, that's
know.
it.
And these guys, they proved, you know, Stolen, they proved, and you know, it goes further. Yeah,
Yes.
it goes further if we let it, and,
Yeah.
and we can let it. We will do it. Yeah.
Yes, completely. And
Yeah.
together.
And this is a song I made with Alanas Chasno
Okay.
from Lithuanian singer,
Yeah.
and this is a track that I did with Michelle Adam, and it's called the FKK
Okay.
remix. right?
Okay.
It's called Children of Nature.
Children of
Yeah,
Nature.
yeah, and this is the song which we had a message. We actually did this in the end of 2019. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it's
We
really
actually
fresh,
we were
early.
making this 2019, and I was thinking about how, you know, we have to address this question of what
Yeah.
our nature, because we're actually all children of nature. So we have
Yeah.
to, you know, are we part of nature or are we
Right.
against it? You know,
Yeah, yeah.
the pandemic has proven, you know,
Right.
that we have abused
Exactly.
our privilege, you know.
Exactly.
And this is a song which is really kind of dedicated to that
Amazing.
feeling. Yeah, we released it on our album together. I made this out. Alan Chos now and Matt Reeder album. We released it digitally on
Yeah,
MFS.
yeah.
Yeah. It's called Children of Nature
Yeah.
on Bandcamp and things like that. So you can hear it there. But the idea was to kind of like, you know, put a message across, you know,
That's, I
like,
think, is
but
very
with the
important.
music, because people, they absorb music. It's not
Exactly.
someone going, you got to do this, you got to do this. It's not about
Right,
that, right?
right.
It's about the messages in the
In the music. That's the way. That's the way. That's the way. Because we need to be a messenger and give importance on the music. I think through the music, give something. I think sometimes it's not really important who we are, whatever, but it's important what we want to say through our music.
Yeah.
I think it's our best expression, you know, way of expression is through our music.
Because in the end, that's all we have.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right, we as children, you grow. You know, the first thing you hear as a baby is your mother singing to you.
Yeah.
You know, so music it accompanies you your entire life, and when you go to a funeral, they'll play your 3 favorite songs.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It even will accompany you to your grave. So
Yes.
you know, music is something else. It's the soundtrack of our lives. This is the soundtrack of my life. Or
Exactly.
part of it. You know.
Yes.
I was trying to think of like, what would you want me to play you tonight? You know,
Yeah.
I've got a million songs. You know, I could
Yeah.
choose from thousands and thousands of different things,
Yeah.
which have kind of guided me
Yes.
in my life. You know,
Yes.
from being a small child, listening to, you know, Wendy Carlos or King Crimson and
Yeah,
Led
yeah.
Zeppelin as a kid.
Amazing.
You know, to
With their
Beatles.
Moog.
You know,
Yeah.
but all, you know, all these things which kind of inspired me.
Yes.
And over the years, have kind of brought me, you know, to where I am now.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and it's still not finished. You know, I'm still, you know,
Of course.
still,
of
I'm,
course,
st- I'm
of
still,
course.
I'm still making music.
The journey is infinity. You know, it's like that.
B movie was about the 80s, but my
Yeah.
life carried on after that. You know.
Yeah. This is also another way. Maybe we need to talk in another edition of Electric Cafe about B movie, because also Mark do a movie about the, of course, about the early period in Berlin and his complete life. But you can already go on the internet, Googleize his name, and you will discover beautiful things. What you said before, also through the music, is also we are fortunate as artists. That's when we will die. When, you know, it's gonna be our life into the music. So we're gonna be. You know,
that's what's left. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what's left. You know,
immortal.
is the music, and you know, a film.
Yeah,
whatever. You know, but it's like I hope that people understand in generations to come. You know, the ideas behind things.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Try and put a message across and make people kind of aware of
Right.
what, you know, in all the music that I've made, I've always tried to kind of like put something in there that could give people something to think about, you know.
Exactly.
Trend.
I think this is really important, right? Yeah. We still have maybe 8 minutes. This journey is gonna be never ending, but today we need to. And I want to ask you a lot of things, but I think the most beautiful thing is to have you today over here, and I really thank you, because it was really amazing. And really, I promise you, we need to do it another times for sure. But still have 7 minutes, 7 minutes, yes. And it's a stupid things, but for you, what is the? I want to tell you like this: make yourself a question.
Make myself a question.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's a really difficult thing to say. You know, like, what can I ask myself? I don't know. You know,
I can say like this: what do you think? If we don't, I think it's impossible. If we don't was a messenger of the sound, I think it was really difficult sometimes to be in this fucking life. You know. How you think?
I really can't imagine a life without music. I mean, the first record I bought, I was 4 years old. You
Yes.
know, I was like a little child.
I read
you know.
this.
And
your mother was to buy this because
she made me buy it. Yeah. She made me buy it. She went, go and buy it now, because I kept bothering about it. You know, and so my musical journey started when I was a very small child, and you know, I learned violin as a small child, and then guitar, and you know, and it's kind of like I went through all these phases of the Beatles and progressive rock music and everything, all these things. So I feel very, very privileged. Also, the fact that I also had the opportunity to go to Eastern Europe as well, and East Germany and all these Eastern European countries, and I just released an album recently called Subversive Decadent, which is a collaboration with different people, different artists like Fifi Wrong, Zachary Allen Starkey from New York, Alan Nass, Stolen, Liars, Birmingham Electric, all these different people, and we put this together, and the cover is a photograph that I took in East Berlin at a parade, on a May Day parade, and I got arrested by the Stasi for taking this photo, trying to take a photo. They thought I was trying to kill the head of East Germany, assassinate him, and so they took me away, and I used this as the cover of the album because the Stasi in my Stasi file it says I was subversive decadent.
Oh wow!
And I thought, okay, that's a nice title for an album.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what my new album's called.
Subversive decadent.
Yeah, subversive decadent. Yeah.
Wow.
And we in a sense we come full circle now because this is New Order.
Yes.
Right. This is the latest New Order record called "Be a Rebel." Has a really interesting message too. And
yeah, exactly.
New Order and Joy Division, they've accompanied me also on my musical journey for the last 40 years, and Bernard's a very, very old friend, and he asked me if I would remix their new single, and this is their new single.
Also, because we can say you are really a reference for them also nowadays.
Yeah,
so
they like Bernard likes what I do, so it's like we'll bring it together and bring it home in a sense. And so I made this track with him for him and the band, and it's like my when I started off in Berlin doing Joy Division, this is the point I'm at now doing New Order.
It's amazing, Mark. You see how this man talk really easily and just talk about Joy Division, New Order, Depeche Mode. He was everywhere and he don't say nothing special, but just with humility. I think that's the way to be a human.
But
I thank you to be here.
It's not always about the big artists, actually, like the New Orders and Depeche Modes and whatever, It's about the kids that come, the other ones. And I made Subversive Decadent. I put New Order on it, and I put, Yellow on it, But all the other artists you probably never ever heard of before, And it's about giving them the opportunity to show what they can do too, and how their music sounds. And it's a mixture of music from around the world, from China to New York to Eastern Europe,
That's the way also, because it's an exchange of things that you inspire also them. Yeah. That was amazing, because also Marky was like a futuroscope, the man, UK man from Manchester, coming in 78 in Berlin, and he just discovered something. And like the track We Are Here, it's like Be a Rebel. Guys, I think we need to be a rebel. We lose this attitude, and if we lose this attitude, there is no more movement, there is no more revolution. Let's wake up. I got Mark over here just to tell you, let's wake up. Let's be a rebel with love.
Because but responsible.
With responsible. And
it's a responsibility.
The message is love.
Because it's not in my hands, necessarily. The future is you,
Exactly.
and it's we have to do this together. We can lay the foundations and
together.
show and guide and give guidance and stuff, but it's not for me to tell somebody. It's not for me to tell somebody how they do it. They just have to think about being responsible.
Exactly.
And say what's the fastest way we can get from A to B? How do we stop this? What's the fastest way we can do it? And we have to think about that and work on that. And once we've stopped, we can have our love parades, and we can have our parties on the street and our clubs life back, and it will be an experience that we will never forget.
Exactly. And that allow we stay here to just make this journey with Mark, but also the meaning of this journey is just to give the hope. And you know what? We are here to say it's coming, and it depends of each other. We need to be together. We need to respect the world. We need to respect everybody. There is no difference. There is no racism. There is nothing. We are all together. We are all the same. There is no color, no difference.
No, nothing. We're all together. Yeah. We all share the same planet. And and in this modern age in the 21st century. I expected we'd all be riding around in flying cars.
Exactly.
I think that we have to stop now and say, okay,
Yeah.
it's really time to kind of like take
Be
stock
serious.
of like what are
Be real.
how do we want the next part of the 21st century to be?
Exactly.
How do you want it to be? I've seen the last half
Exactly.
of the 20th century
I
and the
agree.
first 20 years of the 21st. The question is, how do we want it to be?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's about it, really.
Yeah, we have 50 seconds.
We have 50 seconds.
48,
Okay,
47,
okay.
46.
We can just play one song. This is just
Yeah.
if it'll play.
Anyway, I'm really happy that I was thinking about I want to call Mark, and I just write Mark, and he sent me in 1 second, yes, I will come in. The big father. I love you, Mark.
Yeah, because I
And
watched
thank you.
this, so I'm like, yeah, of course. It's all about supporting each other
Exactly.
and supporting each other. It's not about me being
That's
on
the
your telly.
attitude, That's the attitude.
I actually don't care. If people see my face or not. I just want them to hear the music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there is no kings, no master, We are all the same level. It's finished the time, and I really thank you. Thank you to be here, Mark. Thank you,
welcome.
really.
Thank you.
And thank you
for
guys
watching,
to see each other. The message was love.
Yes, definitely.